I'd like to thank Big Man for giving me the opportunity to be here today. My name's Roland. I'm an addict and alcoholic. Just want to share my experience, strength, and hope with you today, and hoping that it reaches out and my story hits somebody and maybe does a little bit of good. A little bit about myself. My sobriety date is October 4th, 2016. Decided at that time that my life had become completely unmanageable, to the point of taking my own life because I didn't think that it was worth living anymore. But let me get started and let me tell you how I got to that point. When I was 13 years old, started hanging with a bunch of kids that liked to drink and smoke weed. And I lived on the south end of Columbus, around 270, 23 area. And I was the youngest of 5 kids. And all my older brothers, the only thing they wanted to do is kick my butt. So I kind of looked for other people to hang around, and you know, they really didn't want me hanging around. So that's no excuse, but you know, just kind of let you in a little bit on how I got involved with what I got involved with. But so I started running with some people on my street that were quite a bit older than I was. So long story short, had a good time, man. Had a good time for a few years. It was awesome. Getting drunk, getting high, going out and doing crazy stuff, jumping off cliffs, knocking over mailboxes. You know, it's all good when you're a kid. You know, it's all fun. It's all fun and games, and you sit there and yeah, you don't realize the consequences, and half the time you don't get any consequences because, you know, you're a kid and everybody's doing that kind of stuff, so you think they are. But you know, you're out there and you're just living free, man, and you're doing what you want to do and you're letting it swing. And you're getting drunk on a daily basis, you know, and you got a job and you got a car and you got a girlfriend and the money's coming in and it's all good and it's all fine. And then your 20s hit and things start to change a little bit. You know, you meet somebody you're a little bit serious with and you end up having a baby. So that kind of changes everything. You know, you sit there and you try to settle down and you try to work things out and you try to stop your partying, and you know, you let your friends go to the wayside a little bit and you try to put more involvement into your family. And for me, that didn't work. I had an insatiable appetite to just keep drinking and drugging, man, and it wouldn't let go. So I kept it kind of hid for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. You know, I'd wait till she was at work, get fall down drunk or get high, and you know, she knew, obviously she knew, but I didn't think she knew. But you know, no one's that stupid, right? You think you're fooling somebody when you're not. But it got to the point to where the weed wasn't enough and the beer wasn't enough. I wanted a better high, so I introduced myself to cocaine, and became my best friend. Oh man, whew. Cocaine. It gave me something that none of those other drugs did, and I fell in love with it. It was more important to me than my wife and my family. It took everything from me, and it took my house, it took my marriage, it took my kids away from me, it took my self-respect, it took my dignity, it took everything I had. But it didn't do it just once. It done it a couple times. So you know, that's just what happens when you're an addict. You tend to be a little tornado, just spinning around, causing destruction everywhere you go. Everything you touch, everything you see, every person you come in contact with, it's all bad. You burn those bridges because that's all you want. That's all you want to do is use people, because all you want is that next fix and that next high. Had quite a few jobs, man. I went through so many jobs. Got a job at Hirschvogel, rewind a little bit, right when I got married. And they gave me a lot of good skill sets. They trained me to be a tool and die maker. I got to be a journeyman tool and die maker, and I got to be a certified welder. And also, they was, in their infinite wisdom, decided to make me a production manager over the sawing, shearing, and pressing department. So I did that for about 3 or 4 years. So I had management experience as well. So I never had problem getting a good job. And that was another issue too, because every job I got was good enough to financially sustain my cocaine habit. But I went through them, man. I tore through jobs. I think I probably went through 17 jobs in 18 months at least, 19 months at least. And it all lasted to my first paycheck. You get your first paycheck and you're at the dope boy's house and you're just getting whatever you can get. And, you know, at that time, it's all I cared about. So at that point, you know, after the divorce, I met another girl and decided to get shacked up with her. She was just as bad as I was, so I figured we'd be a perfect match. Got a little trailer in Columbus, man, and it was all bad. So that's another little lesson I learned. You know, she was an addict and I was an addict, and the only thing we did was made each other worse. You know, I'd come home and everything in my house would be gone and I'd be locked out. It was bad. I'd come home, my windows be busted out from her drug dealer wanting money because she took from him, and it was just all bad. You know, I'm just saying that it was a bad 4 years, or 4 or 5 years, but you know, eventually got a job with Beacon's Van Lines, and that's a moving company, so I was over the road, and I figured that'd help because I knew that I was using just a little too much, and at this point I had made nothing but good decisions in my life, you know, and everything I'd done is perfect. You know, all my decisions were awesome. So, you know, why not get on the road and run from my problems? So, in reality, all my decisions were horrible because they led me to nothing but junk. But I decided to get on the road and run away and try to get away and try to get a little bit of semblance of my life back in order. And ended up in Tennessee one night at a truck stop, and decided to go inside the truck stop. This is right by the Tennessee Titans Stadium. It was just a half a mile from the stadium, and decided to get out and go for a little bit of walk. At this point, I hadn't used probably for about 6-7 months, and I thought I was doing pretty good, and ran across a couple people, and long story short, they were smoking crack. And I had a pocket full of money, and by the morning, I was broke, I was robbed, I was beat up, and the truck driver who I was with, who was a Christian, knew what was going on and decided to leave me in Tennessee. So I was in Tennessee. And that didn't stop me either, because I always had my mom bail me out. I said, Mom, I'm in Tennessee. Can you send me money for a Greyhound ticket? So I got a Greyhound ticket, got home, and I liked that crack, man. That crack was good. So I figured, you know, I'm gonna get some more, and it was a high that was better than cocaine. So obviously I wanted it because it did more for me. But that was when the nightmare really began. Because started stealing from everybody I knew. I remember one night crawling on my hands and knees across my mom's bedroom floor to get to her purse to steal money that she had saved for my kids' Christmas. And I took it, and I got high on it. It didn't stop me. I hadn't hit my bottom. I kept going, man, full throttle, bouncing checks, doing whatever I could to get the next fix, check advances, frauding banks, whatever got me money to get high is what I did. And finally got another job at Toys R Us, and they made me second shift lead, and I met a guy named Dave. And he introduced me to his girlfriend, or not his girlfriend, but his sister. And she lived in Marion. And that brought me to Marion. And she was a very generous, very loving woman. And who else better to take advantage of? So little did I know, she wasn't going nowhere. She stuck to me through a lot of bad times. And I remember while being here in Marion, running my car at least 7 times in one day back and forth to Columbus to get dope. And she always enabled me, and I kept it quiet for a little bit, but she knew something was, you know, a little squeaky. But when it come to terms, she found out what I was doing. She gave me an option of getting treatment or leaving. I chose to leave. I didn't need treatment. It wasn't for me. I wasn't an addict. I wasn't an alcoholic. Those people are crazy. A bunch of crazies walking in that room, man. It's just nuts. People who are weak need help. I wasn't weak. So my drug use continued, and she loved me enough that she kept taking me back. But one night it all came down to a point to where I'd burn every bridge, used every person I knew, just exhausted every resource, and I found myself back in Columbus in Grove City at a Walmart in a parking lot with an empty tank of gas in the middle of October or November. And I didn't know where else to go. I had nothing. No one would take my calls. No one would give me the time of day. And I was coming off a very bad high, and just wanted to end it all. I just wanted to end it all. So I decided that's what I was going to do. And I was going to do it by the means of jumping off this bridge over here that went over 70 on Stringtown Road. And them assholes put a fence up over top of it, and my feet wouldn't fit in the damn holes. So couldn't even kill myself right. So anyway, so at that point I just collapsed, man, and knew there had to be something out there that was better. I knew that I was on this earth for something a little bit better than what I was doing. And at that point I admitted to myself that I was out of control. And it was for the first time that I had come to that decision, and I didn't know what to do. I knew it, but I didn't know how to fix it. So I proceeded to walk a little further down the bridge and walk to a speedway that was there. And I was going to go in and steal me something to eat to try to sober up, because God knows I didn't have no money. I was walking up to the entrance, and I looked down on the ground and I saw cigarette cellophane. And in that cigarette cellophane there was 2 sticky buds in it. And I was like, score! It's like, it was the weirdest thing. And I didn't smoke weed. I had no use for weed. I didn't like weed. And I said, man, I want to sell this to somebody. Somebody somehow. I want to get rid of this. So I eventually, after about 12 hours of feeling stupid and walking around the Walmart parking lot, and I don't know how in the world I didn't get the cops called on me, but I found someone that gave me $7 for it, because that's all he had. And he looked like he was a stoner. So I took that $7, man, I put it in the gas tank, and I hightailed it back to Marion. But I hadn't forgot where I was. I hadn't forgot what had happened. I hadn't forgotten what I tried to do. I went, and the first thing I did when I got back was get in the shower, because I stunk. That's what happens when you're out on a 5-day binge and you're sleeping in your car. You kind of stink. So I got a shower, and I headed to the treatment center and checked myself in. And things were scary. They were very scary for me. I didn't understand anything. I didn't know anything. But I kept going forward, because I made a promise when I walked in there to myself, to be honest with myself, to do the best I could to get back my life. And I started going to group therapy, and found out a lot about myself, and got a lot of tools. Started going to meetings, started working a program, Started taking these things they call steps and working those. Got someone in my life to help me with my addiction, to be there with me. They call those, you know, a sponsor, what I call a sponsor. And things started getting better, man. Day by day, slower and slower, they started to get better. My way of thinking was completely altered. I didn't know which end was up, man. I needed direction, and I needed help. And thank God, you know, I found this program. Thank God that I had people in my life that were still willing to somewhat help me, you know, as long as I was willing to help myself. And I had a good support group. I had people to talk to. I had people to go to meetings to. People to go to meetings with. And every day's better. Every day's better than what it was yesterday. I can open my eyes in the morning and I have hope and I have promise that I'm not going to pick up today. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drug. But I remember the scars of everything that happened to me, because I can look back on those and remember where I was. And it gives me motivation not to go back there. All the lessons, all the life lessons, you keep those in your mind. You remember them. You learn from them. You don't run from them. One of my favorite sayings is, keep one foot in the past and one in the future, and all you're doing is pissing on the present. And that's the way I like to live. And I look forward to every day now. And I thank God for the opportunities He's given me. And with that, I'll pass.